One of my favorite new partners is Warrior Salt. We talk on the show. We're trying to empower you to mind, body, and energy. Energy starts with being hydrated. Let me tell you, after a workout and if you're eating a healthy diet, it's hard to get enough sodium. Well, you wouldn't believe it. We were coached for so long that sodium's bad, but that's why I love this partner. No BS, just electrolytes. They keep it simple. We're talking about fruit powder and salt. There's no stevia, no citric acid, none of the bad stuff, just the stuff you need to stay hydrated. That's what I'm doing. I go to a workout, before workout, after workout. You need it both. If you're thirsty, you've waited too long. That's the point. With Warrior Salt, again, it's all about simple hydration that you need without anything that you don't want. One of the official partners here of Vibe Science as we take you to your highest vibe.
As women, your ovaries are more protected in your belly than compared to men whose testicles are literally right there with no protection whatsoever. As with all of your organs, your body is actually progressively absorbing radiations. So brain, testicles, these are the two that are most exposed to it. The one thing I would recommend not doing is sleeping with your cell phone under your pillow. It's 25% of your life where you're gonna have the closest exposure to something that emits radiation. It's just not a good idea. There are many things in the world that can impact your long-term health and longevity and all this. What we're talking about here with Chris and Ryan is not about the fact that we're all doomed, but more so that the more awareness you have on those topics, the better choices you can make.
This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hansen.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. We're always taking you to your highest vibe. It's about mind, body, energy. We're educating you. And again, Chris and I are just leading this journey. We're bringing and empowering you. We don't know it all. That's why we like to bring the best and brightest across the world. Today, we're going to Santa Monica. Hey, we're going for a safe haven. It is entrepreneur and innovator, Arthur Menard de Calenge. How do I should have got that beforehand, Arthur. We'll re-record me saying that properly, but I'm going to let you say it now, and we'll handle that in post-production.
Arthur Menard de Calenge.
There we go. I wasn't like in left field.
The second try was good, actually.
There it is. We'll get it right. But appreciate you coming on, Arthur.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. Super excited to be here.
Yes, this is a space that I need education in. I'm aware peripherally of all the radiation rays, the negative things are kind of all around us. EMF. I know the whole foundation of what you're doing with HAVN is based around that and this health tech and apparel, but it's a space that I need some education on. So I'm kind of looking forward to this because I'm both looking forward, Arthur, and I'm also a little scared. So like what is Arthur going to tell me that I need to be scared about?
I think I've got mostly good news to share.
That's good. Chris, I don't know about you, but I feel in the dark on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all heard EMF and radiation, and I know we're all trying to be a little more health conscious on avoiding them. But the most I know about it is like there's, some stickers you can put on your earbuds, like your AirPods. And that's like all I've really seen, which I feel like is really not doing enough. So I'm curious to learn more.
The biggest. It's the biggest scam in the industry.
Well, good. Then I'm glad we can clarify that, because literally last weekend my brother-in-law was like, "Hey, what do you think of these?" Just because we have this podcast. And I'm like, "I don't know, dude. They're stickers. Call me crazy, but I think you need a little bit more." Yeah,
they're legit stickers. It's actually incredible. We can talk more about it after, but there is a very easy test you can do to decipher whether or not you have something that works, and stickers do not meet that test. And we've actually chopped some up open for the fun of it here at the office, and there's nothing in there.
Lovely.
Well, that'll be our secondary show, Vibe Busters.
I love that we're starting right with this straight away too.
Yeah, the things that you hear that we're dispelling. Instead of bringing you knowledge, we're just dispelling the bad the bad truths being non-truths being spread.
Hey, it's important as well. Important knowledge too.
It is true. Talk to us about EMF, UV rays, bacteria. What is going around us that maybe we need to be more aware of? And then we'll get into HAVN a little bit.
Yeah, let's start with EMF. I think a lot of people might need to even know what that stands for. EMF stands for electromagnetic frequencies or electromagnetic fields. And they're essentially radiation that are being emitted by our devices from everyday life to communicate with one another or with the internet. So if you take your phone, for instance, it's emitting this type of radiation in order to communicate with a cell phone tower and get calls or texts and internet, or with your Wi-Fi router. Same thing with your computer, with your wearables, with smart homes, cars. Think about just about anything that speaks to each other without a cable is emitting radiation that are being used to transmit that information. We were talking about that test you can do earlier. You cannot use devices that are connected without these type of radiation. So if anything like a sticker was actually effective when you put it on the device, then your device would not work anymore, and your earbuds would not be able to connect with your phone. So the exposure to EMF is something that is very new to the human world. If you think about when cell phones were invented, or became more ubiquitous, I should say, it started in the 1990s, and then from there we added laptops with Wi-Fi in the 2000s, and then we had smartphones in the early 2010s, and wearables mid 2010s, etc. So we've had an amount of exposure that has been increasing exponentially. And in the meantime, the studies on the subject have also been increasing exponentially. And today, there's about 2,200 peer-reviewed scientific studies that link EMF exposure to higher risks of cancer, neurological disorders, and cardiovascular disease. That's for the long-term risks. And on the short term, that link them to lower fertility and higher risks of headaches, poor quality sleep, and brain fog. We can get into the underlying why there is such a wide array of potential effects. It's definitely not because it's the ultimate devil and that it's responsible for all ailments on Earth, but it essentially is thought to increase our risk of oxidative stress, which ultimately is at the root cause of a lot of those diseases. EMF are far from being the only ones that are responsible for increasing oxidative stress. Poor quality sleep, poor diets, lack of exercise all contribute to it. But EMF as a silent environmental stressor definitely plays a role in it as well, and hence the need for a little more education around that.
It's interesting, the technology advances that we have and that come along. And, you're focused on the positive outcomes of what those things enable. But inevitably, there can be sort of these underlying negatives or things that can have impact slowly over time, that as we evolve, we need to be cognizant of it, because I'm not smart enough to know the data of, how much EMF or something like this it takes to then have an impact that ultimately, cuts your lifespan in half. But any impact that could be mitigated should be explored, and we just need to be educated that it's actually happening, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. Absolutely. And I don't think it's about being scared and oh God, but I don't know.
It's like pollution if you think about it.
My parents didn't wear sunscreen growing up. And every picture I looked at, they looked like, fried bacon. So we evolved and sunscreen became more popular. We can have the whole discussion of people that don't like certain sunscreens, and some are healthier, but let's get out of that. Yep. But you evolve as you get knowledge. and you're aware and you have solutions to solve it. And I think that's what this is about, right?
Absolutely. I think a good parallel that I like giving people when I'm having those conversations, because just for the record here, I am pro technology, and that is actually why I started HAVN, because I don't want to live without my cell phone or move to the boonies and grow my own vegetables, which it would probably be awesome, but not the life that I'm living today. The analogy that I like to give is pollution when you live in a big city. If you don't know that car exhaust fumes are bad for your health, then you can bike for 20 minutes behind a bus and just breathe that in. If you know it's bad, you might take a breather, so to speak, and let that bus take off and not follow closely behind it. So similarly with EMF, once you understand where it comes from and the effect it can have, you can start mitigating your exposure, and at the very least gain a little distance from those devices at the right and opportune time, and reduce your overall long-term impact and short-term impact that this can have.
Chris, this is kind of like the bad vibes, like we talk about energy all the time on the show. Like
literally,
this is kind of
we were just talking about energy and arguing whether it's real or not, and what you can see versus what you can't see. No, this intrigues me. Honestly, I was talking about this with someone recently because, I'm in a high-rise building in the middle of Miami where I'm like, and I made a joke to a friend, like, am I just getting blasted with like radiation all day, like EMF? Like, I was complaining about feeling fatigued the other day, and I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm 30 stories up. There's Wi-Fi everywhere, right? I'm in the middle of a flight path to Miami International Airport. I don't know what that does. I mean, obviously, I'm like you, where I'm a tech guy, right? Like, I think tech is great, but I am starting to get to that consciousness level. And like you said, I am starting to hear some people say, they physically can feel it. So I'm intrigued to learn more about, what you guys are doing with HAVN, and I'm getting there. I'll be a customer here pretty soon, I think.
On what you're saying with regards to feeling fatigued, we actually did some interesting early studies with HAVN where, spoiler alert, we developed a fabric technology that blocks those radiation and that we turn into everyday clothing. We reproduced some studies that had been done by independent researchers on the impact of EMF on heart rate variability, HRV, which is one of the best indicators to our body's resilience and recovery. And we found that on average, when people wear HAVN when exposed to EMF versus are exposed to EMF without HAVN, their HRV improves by an average of 20%. We had a 100% success rate in lab, and then in the field, about 70% of people were seeing that effect when wearing something like an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch or a Whoop or what have you. So there's definitely been a link between EMF activating that sympathetic nervous response, essentially like stressing your body, because there is an external stressor that is disrupting its normal biological systems, and more fatigue down the road. So it may or may not be that, but is it potentially contributing? There's a good chance it is. And one of the easy stuff you can do is get yourself an EMF meter. We actually now have one. This is very recent, but we now offer one on our website. We've spent a lot of time sourcing the highest quality one that is easy to use, and then test different areas of your apartment. You might find that your bedroom, for instance, or the couch, or somewhere where you're spending a lot of time, is more exposed than other areas based on where you're placing your Wi-Fi router. So I would suggest turning it off at night, but if you don't want to turn it off at night, at least you can put it away from the bed or the office or wherever it is that you're spending most of your time day-to-day basis.
What's Haven doing in this space? Obviously, you talked about the hat, the clothes, pajamas. I mean, if they're not Clark Griswold vacation level pajamas, I'm not wearing them. I got to have full outfit, long sleeves, long pants. I joke, but I love what you're doing. The hat looks cool. You got to look at, if you can do apparel, you got to have some cool shit,
Yep.
So
One
you
of
can block
our
some EMF, but it can't block the vibe, like cool vibe.
agree. One of our early advisor is the former president of Lululemon. And he's been pushing us for years towards better, nicer, comfier clothing, and we're getting better every day. We're in a good spot. When I'm saying this, it's like it's not comfortable. We're in a great spot, but he's been relentless about keeping the good vibes, as you said.
Athleisure wear is like
indeed
the one of the highest selling. I love that name. I don't know, probably Lululemon came out with it, but athleisure, that's for the chicks walking around with yoga pants, but eating a Snickers bar. And then the guys, they're sitting on the couch watching football, but got those comfy pants on. It's funny. I don't know. We like to blend, athletes and leisure wear. I don't know, but it's comfortable. I know that they do make good shit.
Well, yeah, it's like the new evolution of how we're consuming, right? Like we're consuming more and more better for you stuff and products that make us feel good. And it definitely feels nicer to be in athleisure wear than to be wearing stiffer jeans and leather jacket when lounging on the couch. With Haven,
I like my tight jeans.
All right.
But they're not as comfortable as my joggers. You're right. What all are we doing with Haven?
So with Haven, I mean, we believe we're creating the next category after athleisure, which is health protective apparel that actually do something with regards to keeping you healthy and making you feel good. But the story behind the creation of Haven is my background is I'm a scientist, and as part of my first job after college, I was researching the genomic patterns of prostate cancer, came across all the studies about EMF, went down the rabbit hole, and realized that we were going towards more and more exposure, as we just discussed, and not less. And that as the studies would come out, because there is always a big lag between when the studies are being done to when the public is actually aware of them. And we can look at tobacco as one good example. It took 10 to 20 years between the moment where we knew from a scientific perspective it was bad for you to the public knowing. And so anyways, figured out that as the word would get out, people would have a rightful need to want a solution. And as we mentioned, we can't shield the devices, otherwise they don't work anymore. If we're turning off your Wi-Fi, you don't have Wi-Fi anymore. If we're blocking EMF from your cell phone's not connected to the internet and not receiving any calls and texts. So the only thing we can do really is protecting the body from that EMF exposure. And so we took inspiration from spacesuit technology. Spacesuits have an inner layer that blocks radiation from when astronauts are in space. And we integrated this within a proprietary fabric, Wave Stopper, that blocks 99.7% of EMF from 450 megahertz to 40 gigahertz, which covers the entire spectrum of our electronics devices today. And then we turn this into everyday basics, everyday essentials that protect your essential organs from EMF exposure. And the way we're thinking about it is we're essentially building, with Wave Stopper, we're building the seatbelt for EMF. Which is we still want to use technology. We still want to live life in modern high rises like Chris and enjoy our view of the ocean. But at the same time, we want to limit our exposure and hopefully keep living a longer, healthier, and happier life by reducing our environmental exposure.
Yeah. I mean, you got to protect those balls.
You do. That's where we started.
Chris, you hadn't had kids yet. I don't know. You got to protect those guys.
I know. I thought I was doing all right with the organic cotton boxers, but that doesn't protect against all the EMF radiation. It's like we're getting attacked from all sides here, guys. It's tough.
I know we hear about everything more because there's proliferation of news and social media and all this stuff, but it's just like you said, it's proven that fertility rates are lower than they've ever been, and it is seemingly as much the guy as it is the girl, and if not more sometimes. It's not a coincidence. It's just fact. And there's only so many things that can be causing that. It's hard once you see the data to not know that it's related to things like this on some level.
Yep. And there are other factors too, right? Like our lifestyle, sitting more can hit up our testicles and other factors. But today we have enough data to know that this has an impact. And so for people who are trying to conceive, that is definitely one aspect where they can focus. And fortunately for men, our cycle of spermatogenesis is actually fairly short. For women, that's a different story. We have less studies on the topic, but women have all of their eggs, oocytes already created since birth, and they're not producing new ones. And it's very few studies on the question because it's much harder to study women fertility compared to male fertility. But if the few studies that we have seem to indicate that it has an impact on oocytes as well. And in this specific case, we're not reproducing them over time. And so that impact could also lead to more dire consequences. Now, with that being said, as women, your ovaries are more protected in your belly than compared to men whose testicles are literally right there with no protection whatsoever, similar to your brain. So as with all of your organs, like your body is actually progressively absorbing radiation. It's called a lossy medium. And so the organs that have the most exposure and the least amount of tissue between them and the source of exposure are the organs that are likely the most impacted by EMF exposure. So brain, testicles, these are the two that are most exposed today.
How do like you said, you guys are Haven's expanded into like more athleisure wear, product lines, things like that. I mean, what is available today and what is coming that has these wave blockers?
Yeah, wave stoppers.
All
good.
Blue blockers, wave stoppers. Yes.
We started with underwear. We just discussed why. And then we moved into headwear. So we've got caps, beanies. Next product was the t-shirt that I'm currently wearing. We've got pajamas, we've got hoodies, we've got gaiters. The thyroid is another organ that is very sensitive to radiation and fairly exposed. And then we started doing some home products as well. So we have blankets that are super versatile for people who might not like the vibes of the apparel. Then they can easily get some protection at home. We have laptop pads. I currently have one under my laptop, which prevents radiation from going down towards my genitals. And we're always working on new products. We recently launched women underwear, so a set of bra and underwear. We're working on a new production right now, but the way we're thinking about our product development is essentially what are the organs that need the most protection? How do we how do we allow you to wear this as often as possible and without disrupting your lifestyle? So when it comes to underwear, for instance, there's probably an easy switch between your pure cotton underwear to our wave stopper underwear. You're going to wear underwear either way in the morning. And we're trying to think about our product line this way versus adding or removing a habit, which is much, much harder.
going to where people are versus trying to push them into something that they wouldn't naturally wear or use.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense. My
it's
wife
harder
would
to
get that blanket and never let it go. I mean, she, I don't know what it is about women always being cold, but they always want that blanket.
It's the easiest. It's actually the easiest product to transition to, the blanket, because this is literally no fashion statement. One super versatile product, can use it just about anywhere. If you're a heat factory as a man, this might not be ideal for you. But for women, this is awesome, and I wear it all the time when I'm home. So even as a guy who is fairly hot, usually it feels nice.
Chris should be, one of your influencers, and being a single Miami guy, he could track his HVR, his sperm levels, whatever else.
Let's do it, Chris.
I actually got a nice HRV notification today that it got better, I guess, in the last 2 days. So I'm interested to see what this would do. Now that you told me, I'm probably gonna unplug my Wi-Fi tonight, honestly, if that's
all right. Do it. A lot of routers actually have functions where you can program them to go off at certain times and back on at other times. So you might not even need to unplug it. You might be able to just program it. Easy switch. And then airplane mode is the other one that I recommend everyone. Like, that is super easy. And if you do need to get like text or calls at night because you have kids or you're worried about elderly parents or what have you, for whichever reason you want to keep it on, then just move it away from the bed, ideally in another room or like at the other end of the room. That's already reducing your exposure significantly. So the one thing I would recommend not doing is sleeping with your cell phone under your pillow. Some people do that as an alarm clock, but this is 8 hours of your, it's 25% of your life that where you're going to have like the closest exposure to something that emits radiation. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah. I did this a few years ago and I need to go back to it. Like, sleep with the cell phone in the other room, I think not only for the radiation stuff, just to keep, I don't know, the distraction away from you too.
For sure. Not having that reflex of getting up in the morning and starting like getting exposed to a bunch of notifications and all that. Yeah. Highly recommend that.
Chris, any final thoughts or questions for Arthur?
My question is, why was hat number 2? Is that because obviously the brain, like protecting the brain, is important, or?
Yeah, again, we went with what are the organs that are most exposed to EMF and most studied too. And so fertility and testicles were up there, and brain cancer was up there as well. Quite frankly, we started with underwear because I was scratching my own itch. Meaning, as a guy, I walk around with my cell phone in my pocket all the time. I still do it. Getting distance from your brain is a little easier than getting distance from your testes if you're not carrying a backpack with you at all times or what have you. So that felt like the easiest first change that I could do and create. So hence the underwear, and then hats were close seconds. Mostly because, as you mentioned, like here I've got 34 or 36 different Wi-Fis, not counting the cell towers, not counting everyone else's cell phone in this office, and plus mine, etc. So from an ambient radiation perspective, our EMF meters actually picks up quite a bit here. And so again, like that is an easy switch. I wear a hat every day, so like that's an easy one to replace as well.
Very cool. I mean, it's like, you just got to think about stuff like education. Knowledge is power, and we need so many variables make up ultimately the chemistry and everything going on in our bodies. We got to be aware if there's something that seems like it's off. I mean, you never know. You could be sensitive to this or having an impact. So why wouldn't, again, I go back to the sunscreen, like once that genie came out of the bottle, it doesn't go back in. You need to use it, like, so I wish you all the best of luck with it, Arthur. It's really cool and a meaningful journey.
Thank you, Ryan. And I think one of the things that I would love to emphasize again for people who are listening is there are many things in the world that can impact your long-term health and longevity and all of this. And I think what we're talking about here with Chris and Ryan is not about the fact that we're all doomed, and but more so that the more awareness you have on those topics, the better choices you can make. And I'm assuming everyone who's listening is like, fast food is bad for you, and yet you can choose to go and eat fast food if you want to. And but by having that knowledge, you might choose to not eat it every single day. And so I think the same applies here. You can choose to reduce your exposure as much as you want, but at the very least, knowing about the effect and the fact that it can impact you is already half the journey here. And so, as much as possible, spread the word. But that's why I really appreciate you guys, Ryan and Chris, for having me on and being able to hopefully shed a little light here on that subject that is really not talked about enough.
Where can everybody keep up with HAVN and everything you're doing? Website, social, etc.
Yeah, they can find us at havenwear.com. HAVN is HAVN. There is no E because we block EMF. So HAVNWEAR.com. And we're at HAVNwear on all socials as well.
Great. We really appreciate you for coming on, Arthur.
Thank you, guys. That was a blast. And thanks everyone for listening.
Hey guys, you want to find us, vibescience.com. We find links to everything Arthur and HAVN are doing, his website, their social links, and of course, how to find Chris and I on social media. Give us some comments, drop us some DMs. Always looking to know what you're interested in. Again, we don't know it all. We're just your guides here, taking you to your highest vibe. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.